At a time when the 2019 general election has come under intense scrutiny, a group of presidential candidates and political party chairmen is coming to the rescue, saying they believe INEC performed creditably well. And for one more day, we anticipate President Muhammadu Buhari's ministerial list. So while we continue to wait patiently, we take a look at the implications to governance. Hello everyone and welcome to Politics Today. I am Kayode Okikiolu here at Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos. We continue our countdown and monitoring of activities as the nation eagerly awaits the formation of the president's cabinet. It is now 27 days since the inauguration of the government for a second term in office, and we await the formation of the president's cabinet. There you have the countdown, 27 days since President Muhammadu Buhari's inauguration. The wait continues. Well, there are feelers that the ministerial list might just be released next week, but we keep our fingers crossed. So while we wait yet again, let's tell you why a press briefing that held earlier today is generating reactions across the country. At the briefing, a forum of presidential candidates who participated in the 2019 general elections criticized the post-elections report, which was released recently by the European Union Elections Observer Mission, saying INEC performed creditably well. The chairman of the Forum of Presidential Candidates and Political Parties for Good Governance, Alhaji Shitu Mohammed, also said the uproar generated by the existence of an INEC server or otherwise is unnecessary, as the Commission had earlier said it will not transmit the results electronically. The group is, however, asking the 9th National Assembly to work towards making all necessary amendments to the electoral laws before the next general election. That's in 2023.
Political party leaders will thoroughly x-ray the 2019 election, the unfavorable and hostile environment the election management body operated under, and the extant law under which the elections were conducted, have come to the emphatic conclusion that the INEC performed creditably well. Therefore, the report of the European Union Election Observation Mission released over a week ago, wherein they allege a lack of transparency in the guidelines of election, is bewildering.
Well, earlier today also, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, responded for the first time to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal's decision to dismiss his application for permission to access and inspect the central server, which is said to have been used by INEC for the conduct of the polls. In a statement entitled, "He who laughs last laughs best," the former vice president, through his media aide, Paul Ibe, said the tribunal did not reject the request, but rather ruled that proceeding was still at preliminary stages and that the matter of granting access to inspect the INEC server is not relevant to the preliminary stage. He further said that the tribunal held that it is a matter to be adjudicated upon when the main case is being heard. So it appears the last has not been heard about the so-called INEC server. But at this moment, we have some other trending political stories for you. Here's our political roundup.
It was a high drama at the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal when a faction of the Hope Democratic Party disowned the petition filed by its presidential candidate Ambrose Albert and the party against the election of President Muhammadu Buhari. The faction of the party, led by one Poland Tampere, at the resumed hearing of the petitions against the president, announced that its presidential candidate was never authorized or mandated to file any petition against the February 23 presidential election. Mr. Tampere, who brought a motion to disown the petition of the presidential candidate, prayed the tribunal to strike out the name of the party from the petition. Meanwhile, the Forum of Presidential Candidates who participated in the 2019 general elections have criticized the post-election report released recently by the European Union Elections Observer Mission, saying the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC performed creditably well. The chairman of the forum, Alhaji Shitu Mohammed, attributes the success recorded by INEC to some innovations, including the introduction of simultaneous accreditation and voting system, which was adopted. President Muhammadu Buhari is once again calling on state governments to work with his administration in his quest for sustainable peace and development. President Buhari spoke when he addressed a delegation from Nasarawa State who visited him at the State House in Abuja. He reiterated his call for investment in education and security while promising to fashion out policies to check herdsmen-farmers clashes.
I implore all responsible leaders of opinion to help maintain peace while we are putting in place policies and permanent solutions.
And the Presidential Implementation Committee on Financial Autonomy for State Legislature and Judiciary has submitted its report to President Muhammadu Buhari. The President set up the committee in March 2019 to recommend ways to the application, operations and observations and observance of the relevant sections of the Constitution. The immediate Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, led members of the committee to the presidential villa. Mr. Malami, who spoke to State House correspondents, said the committee submitted an interim report indicating modalities to be followed for implementation.
There are currently 91 registered political parties in Nigeria. So when a group that claims to have 60 presidential candidates and party chairmen as members makes a statement, then one will naturally want to pay some attention. Well, the issues raised range from the conduct of the elections to the report by the EU on the elections and, unsurprisingly, the issue of the purported electronic transmission of results by INEC. Well, let's discuss some of these major talking points, especially those that are of national importance. And joining us on the program are some representatives of the political class in the country. Here in Lagos, we have Mr. Segun Showmi, who is the spokesperson of Atiku and PDP Presidential Campaign Organization. And in Abuja, Mr. Farouk Adamu, a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, is also with us. We'd like to appreciate your time on the program, gentlemen. Mr. Showmi, I'd like to begin with you right here in the studio. Now, you have listened to the statement from this forum. I'm very sure you have listened to that. And it appears that this statement is some form of vote of confidence on the 2019 election and, by extension, President Buhari's government. How do you respond to that?
One of the painful things about those who sit on a fraudulent mandate is that they must go out of their way to cook up a cacophony of jokers who will now come into national space and begin to make statements that are difficult to comprehend. For a fact, only 16 presidential candidates participated in that election and not 60. For a second fact, no decent candidate who participated in an election will then come back after having gotten the results and the report of independent observers from European Union to come and now shoot themselves into some kind of funny names with very difficult adjectival capability to even pronounce the words that were written out for them by the friends in Asu Villa, and then say they've accepted. What have they accepted? You are not an interested party per se. You can only be an interested party if you were on the ballot and the election you participated in. And when you have participated, you feel you've been shortchanged. So, in any case,
are you discrediting?
We have always believed that ultimately 2 positions will always exist in this our democracy for some time to come. The position of Party A that may be leading, and the position of Party B that may be the main opposition.
All right.
In this case, the conversations right now around the political discourse in Nigeria is strictly between the PDP and the APC,
so are you
strictly between General Buhari and His Excellency Atiku Abubakar.
So are you discrediting this statement?
We consider that show of shame a desperate attempt by the occupiers of the relatively, intermittent, difficult to accept position that they have now in the villa as their show, to show up their own emotions.
Let's speak with Mr. Aliyu in Abuja
Before you go to
and get his response. I'll
I'll
let you land. Okay.
Let me land. Look, conversations around democracy is an ongoing one. It is a constant interrogation of the process to ensure that it can self-improve. That we are in court in the first instance is a yeoman's job.
Okay, let's continue the conversation. Mr. Aliyu, how do you respond to Mr. Showmi's claims?
My brother Showmi, it's speaking from the point of anger of defeat. I can understand. Mm-hmm. We used to be in that kind of position. But let me remind him that before, in the build-up to the elections, if you remember these kind of parties that he calls whatever names he calls them, so many of them have also endorsed the PDP. So why is he talking like that? And then as a nation, why would he discredit any party in this country, that a party that has been registered? Then two, if he will tell me now that EU are the persons to determine whether elections in Nigeria are legible or not, whether elections in Nigeria are good or bad, it is really unfortunate.
Right.
But the people of this country have decided, and then PDP is in court. So let's not preempt the decision of the court.
Right.
Now the people have spoken, and I'm sure the courts are going to also speak. So let's wait until that time.
Now, Mr. Aliyu,
Mr. Showumi should understand that.
Mr. Aliyu, briefly, before we come back to Mr. Showumi, I'd like to ask you, there are speculations, I mean, Mr. Showumi has brought that on the tone, that this particular forum was probably supported by the APC. Is that true, briefly?
That it is absolutely not true, but it is true there are parties, political parties that have aligned themselves with the APC. Just like, as I said, there are also other political parties that have aligned themselves with the PDP. So there's nothing wrong with that. And we also expect the people, the parties that have participated with them or aligned with them to also come out and speak in defense of PDP.
Right.
And in any case, these guys did not come and say APC, no. They said INEC, and INEC conducted elections for APC and PDP and all the other parties.
All right.
And it is in this same country that also PDP, I mean INEC have declared some results in favor of PDP.
Okay,
So
Mr. Aliyu,
my brother
a moment
about?
here. Now, Mr. Showumi, he has said that his party, for example, or INEC has support. It appears your party looking behind. There's nobody coming out to support your party.
You know, Paul, I know, Peter, I know, Silas, I know, James, I know, who are thou? That's the word of scriptures. If it had been CUPP, an organization that has been around for a while, okay, you can take them serious. If you had had names like Obiose Kwesili, you had had the name of the man who flew under labor, some of the names that put up a reasonable fight. If you had Showore's name, you will understand. But when Lilliputians who don't understand what it takes to participate in a democratic process, who cannot really internalize what it means for us in the Committee of Nations when we come before the whole world and make a fool of ourselves. There are nations whose electoral map is bigger than ours. We cannot, in all seriousness, tell ourselves that we will run an election with biometric observation of the fingerprint to authenticate. We'll store the results somewhere, and then we'll ask, okay, you have declared what you've declared. We insist that our result is in your server. Can you please let us come and look at it? Right. Because it is within our right to examine it. Now, and if they now, for whatever reason,
you mentioned some names. Now,
yes.
You said that if those names had come out to support the APC, then.
Yes.
But so those names are also not supporting your party. So
No. Don't get it. No political party is incorporated for the purposes of being a cheerleader for another political party. It's not envisioned that way. Each political party is supposed to come into the democratic space with the view to corner the people and get them to their own agenda.
Right.
When you now have 60 people, with due respect to them, looking at the country basically collapsing, your wall tells us that 27 days after a government that ordinarily should just continue with its agenda has not even been able to determine who is going to be his spokesperson.
Okay, let's quickly get Mr. Aliyu's response before we go on a quick break. Mr. Aliyu, before we go on a break, I'd like you to respond briefly to what he has said.
Yes, I honestly want you to kindly give my brother a bottle of cold water so that he can, cool down. Now look, this is the same CUPP he's talking about that has come out to defend the PDP. So which means if only the association that supports PDP comes out to speak, that's legitimate? No, my brother. Look, and then look, don't look down upon your country. You have no other country but Nigeria.
Right.
And I'm telling you, Nigerian people we don't depend on EU, US, or anybody to determine what we are going to do, whether our election is all right or not.
All right.
The people of this country have decided.
Okay.
So if the people of this country have decided, what are we talking about?
If I may now, Mr. Aliyu, Mr. Showumi, we'll have to take a quick break now. Yes, definitely. But when we return, we'll continue the conversation. I will also talk about the ministerial list that we are all awaiting. Jonathan. Welcome back, everyone. Let's get back to the conversation. We still have Mr. Segun Shoumi, the spokesperson of Atiku and PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, with us in our Lagos studio. And in Abuja, Mr. Farouk Adamu, a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, is also with us. So let's continue with our conversation. We had it a bit feisty earlier. So I'd like us to move forward. So it won't be like we're going around a circle. First, I'd like you to respond briefly to what he said. He says that he understands where you're coming from. He says you're speaking from a position of, oh, we lost the election. So
listen, what exactly do they consider to mean when you put yourself forward for an election? Someone like Atiku. Essentially, it is to come and figure out solutions to the problems of the country. People are not all going to sit down in one place wanting to be president when they don't even have an iota of solution to the problem they're facing. We have no qualms with losing an election. What we quarrel with and what we are quarreling with and what we are in court for is to say to the Nigerian people, there is a minimum standard of what is acceptable or what can be defined as a credible election. And before they start running underneath the cloak of sovereignty, which is that imaginary, invisible platform that nations can sit inside and perpetrate horror on their people, including killing them or putting them into dictatorship, you need to know the world does not run that way anymore. The world runs in such a way that there are peer review organizations who will compare what's going on here and write a report. You cannot like the money of the United Nations. You cannot like the support of the EU. And when they write you a nice report telling you and telling me and telling all of us that we fumbled at our last election, then first things first, we must take the result and examine it. The second is that we must make sure we do not go about pretending as though those who have gone to court to ask the most sophisticated arm of government that is available to us, which is the judiciary, to take a look at it and make pronouncement. You can't come back to us and say, what are we angry for? They've been in government for 1 year and 24 years and 27 days. In 4 years and 27 days, things have only gotten worse. The man broke his arm.
Let's speak with Mr. Aliyu now.
Speak to him.
If I may. So let's move forward. I understand this is a very touchy subject. So let's move forward. Mr. Aliyu, you have surely come across a lot of criticisms from Nigerians, especially from the People's Democratic Party and some other Nigerians from areas like security, the economy, and other areas, infrastructure. I can go on and on. When you consider some of these criticisms, do you think sometimes that Nigerians are probably unfair on your government or they're expecting too much? How do you feel?
I honestly don't think Nigerians are unfair on the government if they criticize the government. It's part of the system, it's part of the polity, and that people are bound to criticize no matter what you do. But, you know, let me answer my brother, his comment, and then what you said.
All right.
Now, look, the people of this country voted President Buhari in 2015. Now, the same people of this country in 2019 voted for the same person. So if the people of this country did not believe in what he was doing, what he did, and what he's still doing, he would have been voted out. And the same judiciary that we are all looking up to decide for us whether the elections were right or wrong. We shouldn't castigate them. We shouldn't see them in bad light. We shouldn't say anything that's wrong. All they said, like in the ruling they gave yesterday, was that, look, this is I'm not a lawyer, but they said this is an interlocutory decision, which is not, is not part of the main, it is part of the main issue. So it should be, nobody should put it to the judiciary that, look, yes, there is a server or there is no server, there is electronic transfer or not. So my brother and other PDP members or other Nigerians who are aggrieved should also wait on the party, but at the same time, coming to the people. The people of this country have the right, legitimacy to criticize this government, but that not everybody, not every criticism is right. And not every criticism will also, it's also done in the right way. As I said, if all the things that the PDP are saying is wrong or is true about the APC, Buhari would not be elected. He has been re-elected again.
All right, so let's
Nigerians have agreed and have accepted his presidency.
Okay, Mr. Shoumi, one moment. Let's talk about the ministerial list. And this is one of the criticisms that have come up for this government. Now, if the feelers were getting that this list might come out next week, if it's anything to go by, do you think this will be enough to pacify the criticisms that I've said the president is perhaps too slow, there's no policy direction. Do you think that will be enough?
Look, it took him 6 months the last time out. And everybody held their breath waiting for a committee of brilliant people. He came up with that lackluster panel that couldn't do. I'll explain to you, because every indicator they met in 2015, they bungled on it. On employment, they failed. On security, they failed. On food stability, they failed. On internal cohesion, they failed. On national harmony, they failed. On misery index of the country.
I want to believe you are referring to statistics.
These are statistics I can bring out for you. On food index, they failed. On cost of living, they failed. Look, if it has taken a government that was criticized for being slow, a whooping 27 days, I'm not even asking for the ministers now. Who is the SSG of the country? Who is the chief of staff of the country? Who is the spokesperson of the president? Who is the special advisor? These are easy processes that he could have announced. He hasn't announced them. Let me tell you, look, my friend and brother, it is not all the time that we speak that we really want to bash APC. APC and its people make it easy for themselves to be bashed. Take what he has said now. He has just explained precisely what happened in court. He's not the spokesperson of their president. The spokesperson of their president, Garba Shehu, has jumped into public space and he has said exactly the opposite of what the gentleman has said. Do you know why? They lack consistency in narrative management and direction.
Okay, Mr. Show,
and it is made worse, one more comment,
all right,
by the fact that their so-called poster Joe, the vice president, has a habit now of always going outside the country to trivialize the issues that he dare not trivialize in the country.
Okay, so let's bring this together now.
Bring it together.
Let's move forward. I'm just curious personally, and I'm talking to both of you. Is there a platform that both parties, I'm talking the PDP and APC, come together, put aside party affiliations, put aside passion, and say, you know what, let's form ideas. Let's bring up solutions to move the nation forward. I'd like to speak with Mr. Liu before we go. 30 seconds. Does this happen at any point?
Well, as I said, honestly, PDP and us, as far as I'm concerned, we're one and the same. We're all Nigerians who I want to believe want the interest of this country. But as of today, that interest of the country is given to APC and to take care of the interest. And we're doing our best.
Right.
And as I said, you still come back to the people. All the things he said are not done right. The people of this country still believe in what the president is doing, what the APC government is doing.
All right,
that's why we have been elected again.
All right, Mr. Liu, let's take Mr. Showme's final word. Honestly, if I may, because of our time, let's take Mr. Showme's final word.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to working with the APC?
Let me explain to you. What the handlers of President Muhammadu Buhari don't even get is that in the real sense of the word, when an election has not been adjudged free, fair, and transparently called so, and you don't take it to court, and the court says, okay, all things considered, it's a free and fair election. You know the loser? The loser is the person that is sitting on a stolen mandate.
All right, so is that yes or no?
We will work after we have determined who won.
Okay,
For now, we do not believe they won.
Okay, I think that's a great place to put it. I'd like to appreciate you so much, Mr. Showme, for joining us on the program, as well as Mr. Aliyu, representatives of the major political parties in the country. Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I am Kayode Okikele.